Well, hello, and welcome to Old People This Week. I am Jeff. The handsome gentleman over there is Mike, and we are your hosts.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Mike. It's good to see you.
Good to be seen, as my dad used to say, better to be seen than viewed.
Yeah, good point. Between Mike and I, we have about 150 years, not quite. And that means that we know everything, and we will impart some of that knowledge onto you today. This podcast is for active people who are 60 plus in age. If you're of the I'm falling down and can't get up school of aging, then this podcast probably isn't for you. Every week, Mike and I give you the information, the dirt, the news stories that you need to know as you head into the weekend. This is not headline news. You can get that anywhere. This is the kind of stuff that will make you sound smart when you meet your friends for coffee, golf, or, of course, at happy hour. You can email us with your questions, comments, or anything else you want to share with us at the address listed below. It is oldpeoplethisweek@gmail.com. And we'll get right into the stories. Today's top story, which, of course, as it is every week, the Golden Bachelor.
Shock and amazement.
Shock and awe. And I was thinking about it. It's that I read a ton about the Golden Bachelor all over the internet during the week, and it's all written by people who are generally speaking, not generally, almost all of them younger than they would be if they were on the Golden Bachelor. So you and I are frankly the only commentators who are going to talk about it as people of the same age.
Yeah, from Gary's perspective. The other thing that's interesting too, in the comments we read, it's interesting that, at least the ones I've read, most of the comments from men are less than effusive or positive, and most of the reviews from women are wonderful. They think it's fabulous, about time, blah, blah, blah. So kind of an interesting take on the two perspectives.
Yeah, I think that I think the women are actually surprised to see a man who actually listens. He spends his time listening and acting like he's totally into where most guys, unfortunately, like me, have spent most of my lifetime barely listening to what women have to say, though, as my wife would probably attest to. But this episode was Gary and the two women left standing, Teresa and Leslie, went down to Costa Rica to hang out. And Gary went rappelling with Leslie down the side of a cliff, and she did not look happy about it, but she made it down to the bottom. And Teresa and he went horseback riding. And then both couples, separately, of course, went to the fantasy suite for the night, in which, as Gary so eloquently put it, they had a chance to knock boots. And so and then the next day, so you see Gary goes into the fantasy suite with Leslie, spends the night, because they show the next shot they show after they go in there is them drinking coffee in bed. So the assumption is they spent the night, and he was happy as the proverbial clam and good spirits, and then realized that he was going to have to spend the rest of the day with someone else.
Yeah, I thought the whole thing with Leslie looked very comfortable.
Yeah,
I thought the two of them together were good. I thought the repelling thing, I mean, she was a little apprehensive, but she wasn't freaked out about it, and she took it on in good spirits. I was laughing that they give him the dry path down the rock face, and they put her in the waterfall.
Yeah.
It was kind of a test.
All over the place. Yeah. And then you could sense that. I also got the sense that he really had a good time with Leslie, and she seems to fit the bill for him of that person who's as athletic and just fun and has the same sort of interests as he does in that respect.
Yeah, I agree. They just look like they work. They look like they go together, and they seem to feed off each other's energy really well.
She's my favorite, but my wife likes Teresa, and I asked Gary after he sort of had a somber sort of horseback riding with her, and then she got him to open up, and then they went to the fantasy suites, and the next day he was chipper again. He was happy, and it seemed like that went very well as well.
Yeah, I thought the turning point for him kind of was the "Are you willing to spend the rest of your life with me?" question. And Leslie, interestingly, deferred a little. She was like, "Well, I'm sure we can make it work. My life and my family's in Minneapolis, but we'll do what we have to do to make it work."
Yeah.
And Teresa was like, "No problem. If you propose to me, then we're going to be married and we're going to make a life together." I was like, no hesitance.
No, I agree. I think that the practical part of this, what the off-camera part of this is for him, is making decisions based on not just knocking boots in the fantasy suite, but making decisions based on how can this thing really work. And one of the things is where would we live if we were together?
Exactly.
And with someone with like Teresa, who's got her own seemingly money and life set up, they could just easily go back and forth.
Yeah.
She could probably work remotely, or if she's going to continue to work, and he can do whatever he does at both places. And it doesn't look like money would be a problem. She looks like she has some wherewithal.
Yeah, it was an interesting discussion from her point of view about how she made her career in the investment business.
I looked up Teresa and did a sort of a financial colonoscopy on her. I was digging up over the internet, and she's like a compliance officer at the company she works for, a corporate financial services company. So she's settled in. She's smart and she's settled and not right. And Leslie is more not as set in her life as she is. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that in the end of the day, he's going to choose Teresa, but who knows?
Man, I don't know.
Who knows?
The shot of Teresa wearing Daisy Dukes to go horseback riding put me off. I was done with Teresa.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on, I'm not going to comment on Gary's general shape. He's got man boobs. There's a whole thing going on there, but putting it aside, not to criticize, because look at us. We have no reason to criticize anybody. But
please don't show any picture of me from the waist. The picture you see now is the best one you're going to get.
Yeah, and you have to give credit. For Gary going to the fantasy suite with two women. If I had tried that, I would probably be dead by now and be getting my human composting done, because there wouldn't be anything left of me. I tried that. So God bless him. He made it through.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, that's enough. We're going to wait and see. We got a lot of that's coming up. They're taking a week off the show for Thanksgiving, and then the week after it comes back, and it's
decision time.
Yeah, it's going to decision time. All right. The next thing I want to talk about, I think that a lot of talk goes into online about when they refer to boomers and how they make fun of younger people, make fun of boomers, make fun of us, by the way.
Yeah.
Even my own kids, what the hell? But they do. And in some cases, rightfully so. We're pretty set in our ways and had our time, and now we need to back out of the way. But I did find this funny story in Business Week where first, the headline of the story is that for the first time there are going to be more Gen-Zers in the workforce than boomers. And a Gen-Zer is someone who was born between 1997 and 2012, which is, by the way, what covers one of my youngest son, who was born in 99. So he's a Gen-Zer, and he's entered the workforce. So. And that was the subject of the story, but the core of it was they talked to this young woman who's 23, and she just started her first full-time job in Louisville, Kentucky. She works at a YMCA. Works in the office. And she was basically complaining vociferously that 9 to 5, or in her case, she works from 10 till 7, takes up just too much time of her life.
Yeah.
Doesn't work for her.
When you you forwarded me this article, I literally wanted to get in my car, go drive to wherever this poor soul is working, and snatch her out of there and have a little conversation about reality. I mean,
Well, she says, by the time I get home, I barely have time to walk the dog and make dinner before it's dark. And then I have to make sure the coffee's ready for the next morning, and I have to make my lunch. And then she goes to bed at 11. She wants to be able to, she said, to have a more flexible lifestyle, which is go into the office for a morning meeting, then have lunch at home, and then run some errands in the afternoon. And I want to be able to work remotely more. Now, going to lunch and running errands is not working remotely.
No.
It's not work.
Yeah. No, this is a girl who got a participation trophy on her soccer team when she was in grade school, and has grown up with that whole mentality.
Yeah.
I mean,
just to be fair to her, the people that were giving her all those trophies and were guys like me. With my son, like I say, is a Gen-Zer. I probably give him trophies, and overly did it with him too. But he's a little bit more realistic than she is. My only beef is that if you're starting your first job, I get you don't. If you've never done it before, it's going to feel.
It's a transition. Yeah.
It's not fun working from 10 to 7, and that's all you do, right? But that's unfortunately the way it is. Though a lot of places, even the place that I still work at, have started to get their head around a 4-day week and things like that, and more flexible time. And the pandemic certainly put everybody on a more flexible work at home schedule.
Yeah, I just wonder how demanding the job is to be the receptionist at a YMCA.
No,
and if she's frustrated with that job.
If she works in the office, I don't know what she does there. And being a receptionist at the YMCA would be a miserable job. I don't know what working in the office means at that particular YMCA. I guess we should call her at some tough point. We'll get on the phone with her and just see what she does there.
Ask her how her day's going.
Well, she won't be there. If she doesn't get fired, she'll
be running errands.
Yeah. All right. For our third story today, this was one you sent to me, which I think is interesting from a business standpoint, but it's funny inherently in what you sent me, which is the idea that McDonald's is getting into the fashion business,
apparel business.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So in particular, they're selling. They're partnered with a company to sell CROCs, which are the sort of rubberized footwear that people wear. I don't wear, by the way. Do not own a pair of Crocs.
You won't stoop that. When you get to my age, you might wear them. Yeah, I wear them. They're really comfortable. They're comfortable. They're ugly as hell, but they're comfortable.
What do you wear them for, though? The garden?
Wash my car. No, wash my car.
Because they're rubber and they won't get wet. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, they're not going to win any fashion awards, and I certainly don't want to wear a pair of Crocs. If my left foot looks like a cheeseburger and my right foot looks like a side of fries, I don't know to get the whole McDonald's thing anyway.
No, but it was not that. So they had specifically, if you go onto the website, you can buy a collection, and that collection included 4 shoes, 3 socks, and a 5-pack of Jibbitz, all featuring your favorite McDonald's colors or characters. Do you know what a Jibbitz is?
I guess a little unidentifiable piece of chicken meat or something. I don't know.
No.
I have no idea.
Jibbitz is a shoe charm that you buy, and it's a whole nother business. So you can buy these charms. They're made out of metal, and got these little attachment things on there, so you can
clip them
attach
on
it to
your shoes.
Yes, you put them
Yeah.
on your Crocs. So in your case, you might want to get a little gibbet of a golf set and put it onto your Croc. Oh, the last question is: do you wear socks when you're wearing Crocs?
God, no.
Yeah,
No.
that's a bad look.
Yeah, no.
My father was of the ugly American tourist type who wore basically sandals with socks, and the socks pulled up to almost to his knees, and Bermuda shorts and a camera hanging around his neck. Whenever
Yeah, no, we had that discussion last week. It's the Birkenstocks and black knee-high socks do not go with Bermuda shorts. I'm sorry, they just don't.
Well, they did for my father, but actually he wouldn't have known what a Birkenstock is, but he had the equivalent in the mid to late 50s and early 60s. The next story I want to talk about, which is really important, especially for us, given our lifestyles, basically a cure for hangovers. And when you want to find out something like this, I went to the one place on the internet that would have the answers, which is Reddit, which has basically the answers for everything in the world.
Everything.
The Reddit article that I was intrigued about was the ways that you could, the ways that people who were on this particular Reddit site were describing that their favorite ways to get rid of hangovers. And the first one was a greasy food and massive amounts of Coca-Cola. An orgasm is the second one, is a remarkably effective way to relieve the foggy head is going to explode sensation of a hangover. So if you had an orgasm.
But if you're drunk, how can you get it up to have an orgasm?
Let's ask Gary.
No. Let's go to Costa Rica. We'll go to Costa Rica and run some tests.
Go to Costa Rica and do some knocking boots with a couple of bachelorettes. That's how you do it. The third way was have a big steaming bowl of pho, which is a Vietnamese soup. You see at the mall. There's pho places.
I'd have to be drunk to eat that.
Yeah, me too. And the fourth would be you take tomato juice and put Lee and Perrin sauce in, or Tabasco sauce in, and copious amounts of salt and pepper. Now, you know what that's going to make you do.
It's a Virgin Mary. So you just continue drinking, but you leave the alcohol out.
Yeah. Or it's going to make you barf. One of the two. Yeah. And then the last thing was a more traditional one, which is bacon, eggs, toast, coffee, 4 ibuprofen, and plenty of sleep, which is basically
perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's what I would do.
That's the day's perfect meal.
Though Valerie and I, my wife and I, when if we are feeling a little under after a night out, we opt for some greasy Mexican food generally.
That works.
Yeah, it does work.
That works.
I don't know why it works, by the way, but it does work.
Probably don't want to ask.
No, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. You don't want to be around us either after the fact. There's the fourth story I want to talk about is something that I want to leave with our viewers, listeners, is I've come to decide that there are 4 types of people our age. Now that I passed my 70th birthday, approaching my 71st, I've been looking around now, and I've decided there's 4 types of older people. The first type is the ones that want to be super fit. I see these all around town here where we live. There's people biking, golfing, and they're just working themselves out silly at the gym. I mean, they're really in shape and they really are gung-ho about it. Super skinny, and when they ride the bikes, it's not just they're riding some beach cruise around. They've gone out and bought expensive kind of Lance Armstrong,
carbon fiber,
incredible bikes, and they have all the accoutrements that go with it, the hats, the colorful T-shirts, and so on and so forth, and they're into it. That's the one type. The second type is the ones that never stopped having a midlife crisis. They're still buying expensive cars and gadgets, and they're trying to act like they're younger than they are, and they do not look after their health unless you count being healthy as being at the happy hour every day.
Yeah.
They're into it. They're trying to act young, I guess. but they're way into it. The third type is that the people who just don't give a shit. They're just lazy and they're just hanging out and that's it. They're not going to do anything other than collect their Social Security paycheck and hang out at the house.
Yeah, those are the people who are not watching our podcast.
Yeah, they don't want anything to do with us. And then the last one is the traditional, the sort of the doting grandparent, happy to be who they are, and sort of I think I fall into. I do a little bit of exercising, and I did buy an expensive car when I was going through my midlife crisis that I still have, but I'm not going to get any more of them. And
well, that was my impression. I think we're probably a combination of a bit of each of these, because I play a lot of golf, but I don't work out. My wife works out faithfully, and I do not. Like you, I drive I guess, expensive high-performance car. But I do that just because I've always been a car guy, not because I'm trying to act like I'm 30 years old again. I do want to see you, however, in a skin-tight biker suit on your electric bike riding around the neighborhood.
No, when I'm in that electric bike, I'm suited up, wearing all kinds of clothes in case I fall off.
The armadillo suit.
Yeah. I'm a doting grandfather, type. I try to find gifts. I'm preparing for this Christmas. I try to find gifts for my grandkids that will drive their parents crazy, like
crazy. Yeah.
And I do give them stuff like that are noise making and stuff, just so my son can appreciate a tenth of what he put me through when he was young. At any rate, yeah. So that's the way I look at old people now. Those four types, and if you don't fit into that, then if anyone has a fifth type, please email me.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. And they can't go anywhere. We can't leave without bringing up a Florida story. That's what we've talked about many times about Florida man. This one, I read that Florida authorities killed an alligator that was seen with human remains in its mouth. So this past September, this is a nearly 14-foot long male alligator was humanely killed, and they put that in quotation marks. Humanely killed.
Humanely.
Yeah. What does it mean when they put it in quotation marks?
Would they ask his opinion on how he wanted to go?
Yeah. No, it means that the reality is they probably shot the hell out of it. And it was removed from the water after a local resident saw the reptile latching onto human remains in a Tampa Bay area canal. And this is one more reason that I'm not moving to Florida, because they have alligators.
Did they say anything about who the person was whose remains were dangling out of the mouth of the croc?
They didn't say a word about it. It never was mentioned in the article. They just said human remains.
Oh,
Who
brother.
knows? Who knows? It's crazy.
Another form of composting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alligator composting.
Yeah. There was the thing you mentioned, armadillo soup, but when my son lived in South Carolina for a while, they have alligators there, but they also have a complete rampant population of armadillos that somehow got there from Texas or something years ago. Yeah. And now there's tens of thousands of them everywhere in South Carolina.
Crazy.
It's crazy. All right, before we leave, there was something you brought up this morning that I didn't want to address, but I will address, which is, as a background, is I grew up in the state of Ohio, and when you're growing up in the state of Ohio, you are offered a choice as a young person. Either you're going to follow Ohio State Buckeyes, or you're going to get the shit beat out of you and kicked out of the state. Or you had a choice, in particular where I grew up, that you could be a Notre Dame fan, and that could suffice. If you were Catholic, that was an option. But I was Catholic, but I didn't like Notre Dame. I still don't. So I have always followed with great passion the Ohio State Buckeye football team. Buckeyes. And this week, of course,
well, you were safe. You were safe because Notre Dame was. You were safe because Notre Dame was never much of a threat to the Buckeyes. So
yeah, well, they were back in the day, but they. it was a choice. But anyway, following the Buckeyes for most of my life was we lost to Michigan more than we beat them. And then after 2000 came and this guy, Jim Tressel, started coaching the Ohio State team, and then Urban Meyer, we've kicked their ass for like 17 or 20 years. But the last 2 years we've lost, and now there's a big game coming up here this weekend. We're number 2, I think, or they're number 2 and we're number 3. But it's a huge game, and it's and there's this whole Jim Harbaugh, the coach of Michigan, will not be on the sidelines because he's riding out a 3-game suspension for allegedly being part of a conspiracy to steal the signals. I will say this: the only thing I will say is that I think that they should be punished. If this was true, they should not only be punished like for a suspension from games, but they should have the wins taken away from the entire organization. Should be punished top to bottom. That's cheating. It's terrible. But
I first of all, I'm wondering how can they tell? I mean, there's so much activity going on the sidelines, and unless they know specifically who to watch and who's giving the signals that really count, I don't get it. It just seems to me to be it's like a non-controversy. I mean,
well, the way they did it was they had a guy go to the games with a camera, so he's taking pictures of all the sideline way that they signal in plays, and then seeing what the ensuing play was. So after time, they were able to figure out what meant what. But I just wanted to add the addendum onto this is that though I am in favor of them being punished to the extent that they can be punished if this is true, I will also say, to be fair, that the reason we lost to them the last 2 years was not because of any sign stealing. They had a better team. Yeah. So we have to go into this Saturday's game just, whether or not they know our signs or they don't know our signs, we have to just go in there and just try. Hopefully we can just beat them. But the game's in Ann Arbor. It's going to be tough.
Yeah. Well, I'm also wondering why the minute this controversy became known, every team didn't just change their signals.
Yeah.
So it would have invalidated whatever knowledge anyone gained.
Yeah, I think they probably have done so. They probably changed their signals. I can't imagine they're probably going to end up switching to like an NFL type thing where they can put microphones in the helmets and be able to tell because of this. But they haven't got that far yet. Though I did read the last note on this was that there's a college. I can't remember the name of the college in America. It's a college for the deaf.
Oh, I saw that on the news the other night. It was fascinating.
Yeah,
and
they're allowed to. Yeah.
But did you see that AT&T has developed a mask with a drop-down screen in the helmet?
That's what
that was fascinating.
So that they could see what the play was, and then it's like a pop-up menu. It disappeared before the play started.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Very cool. Yeah.
All right, Mike. I will have a great Thanksgiving.
Fun as always. Do the same.
Don't
audience
eat too
have
much.
a good Thanksgiving.
Don't eat too much turkey.
Quail.
You're having quail?
This is, the famous roast quail Thanksgiving dinner.
Ooh.
Sage apple stuffing.
3-bean salad?
No, please.
Cranberries?
No. Absolutely cranberries.
Well, you didn't grow up with me in white trash, Ohio. You'd be having 3-bean salad and dark turkey meat for eat. Anyway, my best to you and the wife, and we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Take care.